Hail to all literature lovers out there! Today we are gathered here to talk about a movie which is very dear to our hearts. A Gothic masterpiece, a very successful Victorian period drama, The Corpse Bride. And we are also going to talk about the Victorian elements that make Corpse Brides everyone's favorite. Corpse Bride is a stop-motion animated fantasy movie with sets in Victorian England. The movie tells us the story of Victor Vandoort, the son of a wealthy family, and Victoria Everglot, the oppressed daughter of a now poor aristocrat family, preparing for their arranged marriage. Our clumsy boy Victor cannot remember the vows correctly and ruins everything. While he's practicing in the woods and trying to say the vows correctly, he mistakenly puts the ring on a dead bride's finger. Emily, the cursed dead bride, then thinks that they are married and doesn't let Victor go, and they end up in the dead land. Victor is now stuck between two women. Now, let's look at the Victorian themes in the movie, shall we? The setting and the characterization are the biggest factors in Corpse Bride. By linking the tropes and themes that are used together, Tim Burton provides us a very in-depth insight of Victorian England. When we look at the setting, the first thing we see is the classic foggy, almost always rainy weather. Then we see tall Gothic buildings and mechanized people who work like clocks. Meanwhile, the only color we see is grey. These are the signs of industrialization. After industrialization, as a result, aristocrats being evil and corrupted became a commonly used trope, as we see in here. The parents of both parties are selfish and greedy, and they sell their children for money and reputation. It became a tradition for Victorian gentlemen to arrange marriages to create alliances between families, since working as an aristocrat was a shame, as we can see in Sense and Sensibility.
I suppose your father and I like each other?
Surely you must. A little.
Of course not.
Tim Burton used this situation as an opportunity to create a contrast between the main characters Victor and Victoria and the others. We are supposed to be annoyed by the greedy and neglecting parents, so we could bond with Victor better. Also, the way they dress, their always grumpy faces, and the gloomy environment strengthens our ideas on them. Glutton people are either fat, which was an indicator of wealth in Victorian period, or have very sharp facial structures, which are reconciled with English bleakness. When we look at the characters closer, we can see that we have all the necessary character types in a Victorian marriage story. The rude and insidious lord that nobody doubts at the beginning, but learns that he is bad at the end, which also goes well with dramatic irony. Nervous romantic good boy stuck between two beautiful women that tries to find the love of his life.
He doesn't even know any women.
The calm goody girl oppressed by her parents, another good yet victimized woman. The compassionate servant or nun, the driver with tuberculosis, and old-fashioned grumpy parents. Burton was very careful, wasn't he? If they sold Corpse Bride as a book in Victorian period, it would be a bestseller. Now, the things we see until now make us feel like The Corpse Bride is a retelling of a Victorian marriage story, right? And it is only natural for a Victorian story to have Victorian elements. Duh. But no, it also has a modern side to it. Almost the half of it is modern. Burton uses the modern elements and Victorian elements together and blend them seamlessly and surprises us with a twist. The Corpse Bride herself, Emily, is actually the opposite of a Victorian character, but her placement and her role fits perfectly as a woman who is doomed to suffer with Victorian literature, and it doesn't seem off today. She sings and plays piano, goes after a man, speaks with other people, and most importantly, puts herself first, unlike Victoria.
Mother won't let me near the piano. Music is improper for a young lady. too passionate, she says.
Even the way she dresses and her hairstyle are different. Having two supportive best friends, I'm talking about the spider and the maggot, clingy lover who doesn't let her man go, the old wise man that everybody consults, are all relatively new tropes. I mean, actually the old wise man trope is hundreds of years old, but it wasn't common in Victorian era. Instead, now we see this trope used often in fantasy movies. Another thing that doesn't represent the Victorian era is the Deadland. The Deadland is more colorful than the actual world in many ways. People are not selfish, they help each other and have good relationships, which makes them more free and happier. Whereas the alive is boring, no one is actually happy and they always try to shame someone.
The scandal!
Victorians are so boring and rude that even the dead are more alive. And mind you, the dead were supposed to be the gothic element in the movie. But how can Burton bring two different worlds together and make them both look good separately and together? With melodrama and cliffhangers. There is love, murder, passion, family businesses that prevent children from being happy. And there are so many unexpected and exaggerated events. What are the chances of marrying a dead woman who is killed by your future wife's potential husband in your wedding day with another woman? So they always keep us on alert and help us experience different emotions, mostly excitement. We always find ourselves asking questions. Will Victor marry Emily or Victoria? Will he drink the poison? What is going to happen to the bad man? And the most unexpected things happen, as we see in the scene where Lord Barkis turns out to be the murderer of Emily. Or Emily letting Victor and Victoria marry. They make us feel something for the characters to create a bond with them by using Victorian elements. That's why we like Emily and feel sorry for her, even though we know that she's trying to manipulate Victor so that he can stay with her. And for the same reason, we feel sympathy for Heathcliff and we are annoyed by Boundary. That's what Victorian literature does. It has intricate, rich stories filled with different characters. They might make us feel like we are a part of the story, and considering that Victorian literature aimed to entertain middle-class citizens with easy-to-understand and relatable story, there is no wonder why everybody loves The Corpse Bride from all age groups and all nationalities. Thank you for listening.